Extra chapter. The mother of the Greyrat family. Is this the famous Norn? Wait, Norn? Oh shit, thanks so much for the... thanks, Gukon, I appreciate it. Great to see that our viewer count had doubled. Hope that it increases by 10 times next year. Honestly, same. My name is Zenith Greyrat. I was born in the holy country of Milis, a land noted for its long history, great beauty, and rigid moral code. By birth, I was a member of nobility, the second daughter of a count. Sorry, guys. I'm taking notes. This is for me, not for you guys. Yeah. Like most young ladies raised in good families, I was a sheltered child. I thought the little world I knew was all there was. I was clueless and naive, but I was also a good child, if I do say so myself. I never disobeyed my parents. My grades in school were excellent. I obeyed the tenets of the Millis Church, and I learned to play the role expected of me in my society gatherings. Some people even called me the perfect picture of a Millis lady. My parents were rather proud of me, I'm sure. Ed Brain right now feeling with, yeah, honestly, yeah. I'm taking this one step at a time because for me this is continuously easy for like reading and being able to go ahead and go through and like put in like certain expectations here, which is why is this not just fucking saying red, dude? Here we go, perfect. Sorry, guys. What's this? Hi, Alice YouTuber. How you doing? Guys, drop some love and support. Alice is here. I can't say this enough. Alice is like a waifu, dude. I fucking love Alice. Incredible individual, incredible streamer, incredible personality. If you guys have the opportunity to follow her, like legit, dude, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10 individual. So my mind is going wild right now, and I'm stopping right there because this is a lot, right? I was born in the holy country of Milis. I had a land noted for its long history, great beauty, and rigid moral code. By birth, I was a member of nobility. This right here, almost instantly, Ed, oh my God, Alice, you know it to be true. You know it to be true. You're fucking amazing. Guys, we're also really close to going to a level 2 hype train. Help us out, man. Help us reach it. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and throw this on to you guys. Yeah, just this first paragraph alone. What does this say almost immediately? Without even going into the second or third paragraph, we're breaking this down. And I'm not breaking this down through like the way an author does. I'm breaking this down through the way that an actual psychologist would by hearing a person talk about this. You see, there's more to it than just that. Long history, noble, restrained by status, expectations. Ooh, FBI going through it. Interesting that she's nobility, ended up living in the countryside. Cloud Monkey, you're hitting on a fucking note automatically. The family, lots of status. My thing is, immediately I'm playing off of the dynamics that we already know, right? Which is like the fact that she ends up with Paul, right? But before that, number one, being a member of nobility, automatically, by birth, I was a member of nobility, the second daughter of a count. What does that entail? Right? Number one, your expectations are probably through the roof. Number two, you're probably living in the shadow of your sister. Number three, if you're in a land, right, in a holy country of Milis, right, automatically, you're probably already, if we're going to expand, hold on, if we're going to expand, I hate to fucking do this, into... Yeah, we're just fucking starting here, and I'm already like ending. Also, Alice, yo, when can we play Overwatch? I'm like plat 4. I need to go up. If we're gonna go ahead and put someone in here, and we're already putting that the local religious community in here is literally in control of either the peer group, the neighborhood, the school, and everything, because this is the Holy Land. There's a religious hierarchy that's taking a majority of this. Does this make you learn how to fit? Like, it makes you mold you into quite literally being I don't know how to put it, like learning how to survive, in this environment. It doesn't mean that you are you. It doesn't mean that you are truly happy and content and all of these beautiful things. No. In fact, it means that you are molding yourself to try and fit into a society that like wants you to fit certain expectation and roles. And hearing all of this, right? And knowing how she she ends up being with Paul. Yeah. What does that tell me? That tells me that, number one, she had to find the break somewhere in there. Either she found Paul to be like the bad boy that came through and she's like, oh, he's going to go ahead and take me away from this establishment, right? Oh, he's the option that I have. Oh, I have to start adventuring because this is the way that I need to go ahead and get out of this form of life or whatever. My eyes are dying. Oh, Alice YouTuber. So for me, automatically, this is exactly what it's telling me. It's telling me that, you know, at least if she continues this way all the way through teenage years and, you know, so on and so forth, she will more than likely try and run away. She will more than likely try and like, and find herself either in an adventure party or something that pushes you away. And I will throw this out there in case you guys are becoming parents. Hey, don't be controlling. The moment that you start over controlling and micromanaging your kid's life, the more of a pushback that you're going to get from your kids, because you're not going to like that. And one thing that this is bringing up for me is how religious is this thing, right? And why is there this religious hierarchy here, right? And the importance of nobility in this. Is it because, say that there's like some psychic people in here that are like, I can see the future, and people are like, oh, sugoi desu ne, oh. No, like, you know, really, even if there was, like, basing your whole identity as a person around simply religiosity can be completely demeaning. It can be like, it can wrap you up into a whole area of like unable to like express yourself, unable to go ahead and like show your true colors, your expressiveness. Because what does, for example, if the religious hierarchy in any way, shape, or form say, hey, you know what, we're now against the color red because Aqua, the psychic, has found a vision in her eyes that someone wearing red comes in and destroys the kingdom. So no one can wear red. If you wear red, we're going to kill you on sight. It starts limiting people. And hearing this, automatically, that's sort of what my brain is going to, which is like, oh, more than likely, this is going to be a scenario where someone's going to start running away, where someone is going to start being like, hey, you know what? I'm living in the shadow of the expectations that people want me to be. And I'm not going to necessarily try and be myself in this thing. What a phenomenal literally, first 2 sentences in here. 3 sentences if we include her name. Of way of introducing like expectations that are already going to be placed on her. And also, simply putting this, the second daughter of a count. Once she was talking about how she tried to control her daughter, the more attractive the person she really wouldn't want her to date is going to be. Oof. Oof. But she still took Roxy in. Yep. Ed Wizard. No, but like for me, like looking at this, right? I'm like, this is really fucking sus, dude. This is one of those times where I look at this and I'm like, wow. Man, I love you, dude. I love you too, man. Luster, I appreciate you. Have fun. Have a good night. Be safe. I appreciate you, man, sincerely, for stopping by. Okay, like most young ladies raised in good families, I was a sheltered child. I thought the little world I knew was all there. I was clueless and naive, but I was also a good child, if I do say so myself. Oof. This is why I brought it in here, right? This is exactly why I came back to it. And like, if you guys saw, I put Holland's theory, Bronfenbrenner, roles and expectation theories, so on and so forth, Maslow, whatever. Who is she convincing here? Right. By this, I mean, and this is this is going to sound really fucking weird. And stick with me here. Stick with me. Oh, thanks so much for the 2 gifted subs, man. I appreciate it. You're an absolute goat. You're an absolute goat. All right, stick with me here. People who go through forms of, like, as I work with adults and children, I do group therapy, I do individual sessions and whatnot, right? People that I work with who, when they start telling their stories, right, and they're talking about their attachments and whatnot, and you hear good over and over. I had a good family, right? Good child. My grades were excellent. I obeyed the tenets of them, and I expected some even called, yeah. Whenever I hear good, little world I knew, good again, I start questioning that. I question that because I'm like, who were you a good child for? Are you rating yourself? And if so, this makes me bring up two things. Number one, I would totally ask you, Alice, you can just DM me, dude. I was about to say, like, we always talk, dude. But like when people do this, when people bring up like just the general concepts of good, like morality inside of this, number one, of course, it's a religious element. We're going to take this away. Number two, it brings up the amount of stress that it means to be perfect, that it means to be good. What does it mean to be a good family? What does it mean to have good expectations? And this is going to be fucking terrifying. And I know I'm just throwing this shit out there, but individuals that I work with that are, that tend to disassociate a lot, or that, have like split personalities or anything like that, oftentimes they talk in third person in some scenarios whenever someone is able to go ahead and like, take the chair, be in the spotlight, whatever they may be. And one of the things that they reference is like, oh, they even talk in third person. Oh, for example, oh yeah, Edgar was a good kid growing up. Oh, he was the perfect child. He, like, I totally ended up doing this, so on and so forth. Even in forms of disassociation or whatnot, you can get people to rely solely on coded words, words that they were forced to go ahead and go through. Good, great, I never disobeyed my parents, this is the way that I am. And this is one thing that I'm sort of wondering, which is, what is the indoctrination of this religious hierarchy in this? What does it mean to necessarily say that it is good? And I'm sorry to get so fucking flustered over this, but for me, when I start hearing that a religious authority is sort of the end all be all in the first paragraph that we read, the second paragraph, like most young ladies raised in good families, noble families, so on and so forth, I was a sheltered child. I thought the little world I knew was all there, which is true for a lot of people. I was clueless and naive, okay? But I was also a good child, if I do say so myself. I never disobeyed my parents. My grades were excellent. I obeyed the tenets of the Millis Church, and I learned to play the role expected of me in social gatherings. Guys, oh shit! Fen, thanks so much for the 4 gifted subs, man. I sincerely appreciate it. You're an absolute goat. The goat. The goat. You're an absolute goat, man. I appreciate it. Holy crap, dude. You guys are coming in strong. Some people even called me the perfect picture of a Millis lady. My parents were rather proud of me, I'm sure. So, going off of this, yes, there's a lot of role expectations, social gatherings, the fact that you have to learn how to play. Throwing it back out to you guys, how many of you guys have learned how to play a role in order to satisfy families and whatnot? And also, this last sentence really strikes out to me. My parents were rather proud of me. Dude, yeah. Yeah, even myself. I've had to play roles. I've had to play the, oh, be nice to your cousins. Oh, do this. Got me rattled. Also, I'm hoping to wind down. Friend, no worries, man. If you're welcome in, I hope you're doing fine. Eidolon, I was hesitant because I know that this is gonna fucking eat me up, Eidolon. Like, I'm hesitant because I know for a fact that I could spend hours and hours and hours and hours literally just breaking this down line by line. But for me, this is an incredible juxtaposition already. You're picture perfect of a Millis girl. My parents were rather proud of me. That's not a thing. That's, that's an immediate like pushback against society in this. So clearly there's a break. But I'm also wondering, legitimately, say that Zenith decided to stay in this environment. She never met Paul, whatever reason. She was the perfect picture Millis lady. What would happen to her? Would she continue to live the life that her parents decided to? Would she be the husk for someone else? I.e., let's get weird here. Let's get really fucking weird here. Let's say that in the Moshiko Tensei world, there's a way to, like, she'd probably be married to someone of her parents choosing, more than likely, right? Because her parents would more than likely pick someone. Just going off of like old style religious hierarchies and stuff. Or if not, then if she was chosen or had to choose, it'd probably have to be of someone of the faith, right? But through third person, whenever I talk about my past, I call myself different things depending on how old. That's actually really interesting, Finfran. If anything, I would love to explore that at some point, because that is pretty interesting. I'm probably a better man than Paul. Oof. But like looking at this, I'm like, I hate to ask it this way, but for those of you guys here, or later on, wherever this gets posted, because my mind, sorry, I'm fucking, my brain is rattling right now, is going into like religious cults type of thing, where they prep you to be like the perfect vassal or vessel or whatever, or like they're like, oh, like, this is what a perfect person does, and yet you're being an absolute horrible human being. Anyway, let's continue. um had things continued as they were, I suppose I would have been introduced to some party to a man my parents had chose for me. Maybe this is what I should do. I should probably read down, dude. I'm like so interested, dude. My like eyes like lock onto the fucking paragraph and nothing below it exists. Like nothing below it exists, dude. Okay, probably the first sons of some marquis, well-mannered but proud, with absolute respect for the dictates of the Miller's Church. Yeah, I believe that. I would have married this moral paragon, given birth to his children, and seen my name go down in the register of Miller's nobility as a perfect, respectable Marquiness. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. Okay. So if we're looking at it from the outside in, we're like, damn right, you know that would have happened. You need to get the fuck out of there. Blah, 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 blah. Right? And if we actually look at it from the time period that it's set in, what is normality? Even if we look at the nobles as pieces of shit, garbage, absolute garbages, right? That was pretty much normality for the nobles during that period in time. Even culturally, there are still some cultures out there who do some absolute horrible stuff, right? Or like you can like look at them and you're like, but for them that is like their trend set of normality, or what is seen as normalcy, right? For me, this is telling me follow the way of your family, maintain the dignity. But it's also this, cough me. If you grew up in an environment, like let's say that we were all together, we all grew up the same, which is like every day after school we watch 3 animes a day, we make food, we do art class, whatever, right? And that is what we see as normality every single day, day in, day out. That's sort of what we do. We wake up, we like practice, we go full gym bros, whatever. We come back, we watch anime, eat food, whatever, clean up, get ready, praise to the almighty pantsu, and then like restart the day. Society's in and out, in and out, in and out for generations. That is seen as normality at some point, right? For whatever sect or generation that's in. What does it mean to stray away from that, right? And what does it mean to go ahead and say, hey, you know what? I don't want to go ahead and be a part of this anymore, so I'm going to go with someone else, right? In a society like this. My family is barely religious until someone started struggling. When it's really started, oof, oof. In the Catholic school throughout elementary, and I ended up as an atheist. Cloud Monkey, I feel you, brah. But like going through that, I'm like, this is screaming. Anyways, as a woman of aristocracy, what was in front of me, the road that was the road that was in front of me, but of course I didn't end up following it. My life changed forever on my 15th birthday, the day I came of age. I had a terrible fight with my parents. For the first time in my life, I refused to do what they told me and I ran away from home. It was her quinceañera, man. We see, I told you guys, what you guys didn't know was that Zenith was actually Mexican, and this was her fucking quinceañera, and she just needed to fucking run away, man. The parents were too controlling, and she's and she's like, you know, like, it's my coming of age ceremony. It's my coming of age birthday. I don't want this quinceañera. You know, I'm gonna run away. And yeah, okay. I'd gotten thoroughly sick of letting them control every moment. As I thought, my little sister, there, she wanted to immigrate. Oh, Eidolon, you made that door. Oh, Eidolon. Oof. Oof. There had been, my little sister had always been a free spirit, and I think I was a little jealous of her as well. These factors, along with many smaller ones. What's funny is that this actually leads into the a theory that like middle children do tend to have it a little bit rougher, just because they have the expectations of the older ones and not the freedom that the smaller ones have. Like if you have three kids, it's usually the middle ones that always feel like they're always caught in the middle because they don't want to live in the shadow of their older brother, but at the same time they want the freedom of their younger sibling. This is a really, really powerful thing right here, and I need to bring up Bowlby for this and some of the studies that they've done over like what is like sibling propinquity and the statuses between each sibling. That's awesome. Not Bowlby, not Bowlby, like a bowl, you know, Bowlbi, otherwise known as a father of attachment theory, as well as Ainsworth. It's not an easy for a fallen aristocrat to find a new road through life, but fortunately, I've learned healing magic in an academy for noble girls, and I've even gotten proficient at intermediate spells. Melis was a country where healing and protection magic flourished, but it was still unusual to progress beyond the rank of beginner in either. Reaching the intermediate tier opened up the possibility of working in the Millis Church hospitals. It was an achievement that earned me much admiration in our school. As a result, I was convinced I could make it on my own anywhere I went. I was really hopelessly naive. Oh, dude. Okay. What honestly scares me, like without reading further down, as you guys can see, what honestly scares me about societies and stuff like this is, aside from that, let's put it into the context of like modern laws and like the protection that now we luckily do have for women and for individuals out there, right? Imagine being in a situation where you just ran away from home, you have healing magic or whatever, right? And only like very rarely do people get all the way up to like intermediate stuff. This is an official like novel, I believe, right? Imagine hearing all of that, dude. I'm like hearing this and I'm like, if I were in her shoes, I'd be fucking terrified. I'd be absolutely terrified of going almost anywhere. Because not only would you be seen as a valuable resource, right? But what happens when a creepo decides to go ahead and do something towards you? Right? Or that starts manipulation tactics. Or decides to go ahead and like so on and so forth. Because the culture at this time is absolute garbage. I'm listening to all of this and I'm like, the way that they're ranking this out to be is like, yeah, well, that's what she says. She's hopelessly naive, you know. I'm like putting myself in her shoes. I'm like, this is fucking terrifying, and it's terrifying for the aspect of like, if you find yourself in a scenario where all you know is like, you know, you got to intermediate uh tier of magic, and you're working for this religious organization. That's the only thing that you've been a part of the entirety of your life. No, it's even worse, Kong. That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm putting myself in her shoes, and I'm thinking about it. You just ran away from home, so if you come back, you already know that, like, more than likely you're going to get beat up by your parents or something. You're going to be, like, disciplined in some way, shape, or form. If you continue going on forward, you're more than likely going to meet a bunch of people who only see you as a valuable resource or as, you know, if or as quite literally a way to go out and be manipulated by. Yep. And so like taking that in, I'm like, fuck, dude, this is rough. This is a shit scenario to be in. And it's also, I hate to put it this way, the scenario where people form toxic attachments, where people can quite literally latch on because of fight or flight, freeze or fawn, right, to the first person that they deem safe, and that is their safe person. Say that I was a girl like this, or I was a person like this, a boy, don't matter, during these ages, and I just ran away, and like people are only seeing me like this, people are being creepy, I'm hungry, I'm starving, whatever, and Eidolon appears out of nowhere, right? And he's like, hey, why don't you come adventuring with me? And you know, but he's like a mujeriego. He's straight up like Eidolon's a giga chad where he just likes to sleep around and beat people up. But for me, Eidolon gave me his hand. I'm gonna start trauma bonding with him because of my trauma of running away and going through all of these rough scenarios in my past. No, it's okay, Eidolon. No, it's fine. You know, we can do this. Oh, Eidolon's so great. Oh, we have fights. Eidolon, why are you looking at cough me like that? So on and so forth. Because all of a sudden I start forming fucked up attachments because I don't have my baselines of Maslow's needs met. Right? Like, what I'm hearing here is if she ran away and she doesn't have any like money, anything like that, I'm already making the assumptions that more than likely her needs or like baseline needs of Maslow, specifically this, if we're going to go ahead and do it, are not being met. The basic needs. So if she met up with anyone that was at least or seemed safe, she would form an attachment to try and come all the way up here, right? And even if they were cheating, even if they were manipulative, even if there were something in that case or form, right? She might joke around like, why are you flirting? Why are you doing so many things? But at the same time, or like even if like let's say she got in a relationship with someone, they'd be like, they're like cheating or whatever. She'd be like, why are you doing that? I'm gonna be mad at you or whatever, and then like heal that fucking relationship because of attachment trauma, because of trauma bonding, because of a scenario where she always had to play the good little girl, the understanding little girl, you know, the person that's able to go and like, you know, be the best for her family, you know, be the good roles from time to time if you want to survive an environment like this. That's remember guys, your childhood, what happens a lot in your childhood, and if you haven't learned from it, will come back in moments of stress and trauma. Oftentimes, a lot of trauma is stored in our bodies in the way that we react, even down the line. Now we possibly know some reasons as to why Zenith did what she did in the start of season 1. Actually, yeah. All right. Whew. That is deep. Holy crap. Hold on. Trauma bonding, yeah. Yeah. We're gonna be realistic, yeah. And with that, we're gonna continue with the rest of this after that episode of Onima. Okay. We stopped at I was really hopelessly naive. A dishonest group of people spotted me almost immediately as I was awkwardly tried to navigate the unfamiliar process of taking a room at an inn. Claiming they'd been looking for a healer, they pulled me into their party, taking advantage of my total ignorance. The pay they offered was lower than what a beginner tier magician earns, but they insisted it was higher than the going rate. Oh, have you seen the documentary 3 Identical Strangers? I have not, but that would be interesting. A lot about myself in retrospect. Oh, that's awesome, dude. That's what it's for, honestly. I think any of the shows that are out there, like if it makes you laugh or it makes you, I don't know how to put it, like learn something about yourself in some way, shape, or form, then it's more than enough. I'm like beyond happy about that. So, yeah, being a complete fool, I'm just taking it in. Being a complete fool, I took the superficial kindness at face value. I actually remember thinking, I suppose the world does have some decent people in it. Ooh, I'm sure they would have mistreated me further if I had stayed with them. They were probably planning to use me as a human shield in a battle or force me to cast magic until I fainted. Maybe even demand sexual favors. That's sort of what I thought at the first little bit. Like, this is how bad it can get. Yeah, I totally believe it. But they didn't get a chance thanks to a young swordsman named Paul Greyrat. Here comes the hero. Here comes the White Knight. After beating down my new friends, he rather forcefully dragged me into his own traveling party until Illinois, one of his companions, explained I was convinced I'd been kidnapped by a violent thug. I'm like shuddering. Guys, this is how you develop extreme parataxic distortions. You're in a bad situation, right? Someone comes around and saves you, beats down your friends, tense moments, you don't know what may happen, your Maslow's hierarchy of needs is extremely low, shows up, white knight type of savior, you think you're being kidnapped until you're finally being told, oh no, like, you know, you're joining us in our adventures or whatever. All of a sudden, that individual that saved you, there might be like a guilt complex and other complexes that start to arise out of a scenario like this. Also, really cool of him to go ahead and like step in and save her, though. The only thing I wish he would have done in this scenario has been like, hey, they were actually really bad people. I'm just trying to go ahead and help you out. Not that Illinois had to go ahead and explain that like she wasn't kidnapped by a violent thug. Oh, dude, can you imagine that? I'm like putting myself in her shoes and I'm like, how terrified would you be? Like, you see this guy come over, beat your friends up, just get you, and, like, take you over, dude. What the fuck? That's, at first I hated Paul. Yeah. He was an assuring noble by birth, but his language was coarse. He broke his promises left and right, acted impulsively, wasted money, and mocked me constantly. Not to mention he routinely groped my butt and sometimes made inappropriate advances. Oh, Paul, you never change. You never change. Still, I can tell he wasn't exactly a bad person. True. He was just a person. The history of the adventure get even more interesting as we will see next season. He was always coming to my rescue after all. Hold on. Let me go ahead and highlight this. Still, I could tell he wasn't exactly a bad person. Why? Because he was coming to my rescue after all. I wish I had a red flag emote. That way we could all just throw a bunch of red flags. He made fun of my cluelessness, but in the end, he always sidestepped into help, which is awesome. We were total opposites, but he was dependable, free-spirited, and handsome. Ew. You can underline it. No, I hate using red. I suppose it isn't surprising that I grew attracted to him. Yeah, it's also trauma bonding because clearly, you know, all of those events, propinquity, spending time with him, so on and so forth. You start, and also this is the reason why I will always state.
Predicted all of this, you know, all of it.
I will always state, hey, talk about your boundaries, what you're comfortable and not comfortable with, because when people start overriding your boundaries, guess what? They're just gonna keep pushing. Yeah, they're. Oh, rainy winters. Oh, you know, if someone overrides your boundaries, guess what? And you're comfortable with it, that's going to be the new normal for them. And they're going to try and override those boundaries again. Oh, you're comfortable with me groping your butt? All right. Let me go ahead and override your boundaries again, even though, like, you're not saying anything. You're not whatever. And in a society like this, it's like, Propinquity starts to take effect, and I wonder if physicality, due with the fact that he's always stepping into savor, created a cause, like a cosm of like, oh, he isn't a bad person. He always saves me, therefore he is good. He has saved me from my thought process beforehand, therefore I must please him, or therefore he is someone that I have to go ahead and like be with. Rainy Winters. But dude, how do you feel about that? Like genuinely, like if someone were to do that, like would you be okay with it, or do you feel like you'd be completely shocked? I don't know. That's interesting. Of course, there were always pretty women around him. Doesn't surprise me. Also, thanks so much for the follow, Next Gen Gamer 152. I appreciate it, mate. Paul really lowered her standards, huh? And as a follower of the Millis Church, which preached virtues of monogamy, I might have run away from home, but the teachings of my faith have been drilled into me daily since I was a child. and everyone I knew in school had been a believer, and the commandments were deeply enrooted in my mind. That's exactly how my grandparents got together. Beth, oh no. So then the situation with I don't like to use red, but I'm using red here because this is a key moment here. The situation with the maid then was clearly like Paul overrode her physical boundaries in cases where she was groping her butt, whatnot, right? Paul clearly has issues with communication from time to time, i.e. didn't explain the whole kidnapping situation. And in this situation, Paul overrode like even like her own like religiosity boundaries or the boundaries of the marriage by clearly, you know, either being seduced or sleeping with the maid, right? Which in this case, but isn't what getting close to someone means? I'm not talking about sexual or romantic. Isn't befriending someone breaking through their boundaries? No, Dark Thug. Actually, absolutely not. Breaking through their one thing is a person being vulnerable with you and compromising with what they're comfortable with, yeah, hugs and whatnot. Another thing is like, imagine me just going you and groping your ass every single day. I'm like, ooh, swiggity swiggity, I'm coming for that booty, like every single day. And you're like, dude, stop, that's uncomfortable. Dude, stop. Dude, stop. Dude, stop. Dude, stop. Dude, stop. And the next day. And the next day. And the next day. And all of a sudden, your boundaries that, like, you know, you thought you had up, you're not going to fight me in that regard, because all of a sudden, guess what? You're in a position to lose, right? But if I was in a situation like that, all of a sudden that becomes normal after a while, because it's been indoctrinated to your mind where all, like, you know, your boundaries are down, and even if you stated them, you'd be afraid of going ahead and going up against that. We're talking about this particular chapter here, and that's why I'm like, in a situation like this, it's interesting, and it also puts into perspective how much Zenith truly felt for Paul, because Paul's an incredible character. I fucking love Paul as a character. Don't get me wrong. Like, even though I analyze the different things, you have to remember, at the culture at this point in time, probably normal, probably one of the best nobles out there, but still, like, for Zenith, she probably had to give up a lot more than that, clearly because of her religious upbringing in a situation like this. Okay, now I get why Ed wouldn't take the main novel. Wouldn't read the main novel. It takes hours. Dude, it would probably take me like weeks and years, and it'd probably be underlined and filled with notes and everything. Next Gen Gamers, are you into Mushko Tensei? I'm curious. After going to a Cinder girl that keeps rejecting you. But here's the thing, Dark Thug, with the friendship, though, you come to a compromise as to what's okay and what's not okay. Like, you have conversations, and you don't override a person's boundary. The moment you override a person's boundary, guess what? They have the ability to cut that connection and leave, right? Without fear of repercussion, or without fear of, like, their hierarchy of needs being completely destroyed. I.e., if Zenith in this party were to go against him, her hierarchy of needs would be in jeopardy, and the bottom two tiers that I'm sure she has with this group, being like security, base security, you know, your physical needs and so on and so forth, isn't at risk. With friends, you have your own hierarchy of needs that even if you guys end your relationships, it doesn't affect the bottom things. Which is why I'm like, huh. I came to a conclusion that friendships are a result of healthy boundaries. Absolutely, Rainy Winters. How so do you mean Nijika didn't rewrite Pochi's boundaries? In what sense, Dark Thug? I'm curious about that. And just because someone is hostile to you, it doesn't mean you're necessarily breaking boundaries of what is comfortable, I think. Yeah, and also boundaries are different for every person. Like, for example, Eidolon might, his boundaries might be like, hey, I'm a huggy person. Like, if you're comfortable with hugs, I'm totally okay with that. But please don't touch, like, you know, if we're going to a relationship, let's be monogamous. And I'm not a monogamous, I'm a polygamous person, right? Or a polyamorous person, and I'm with Eidolon. I'm like, hey, we're gonna be in this relationship together, and I end up like seeing multiple people behind his back. That's breaking a big boundary right there, you know. Right now, well, Matt, right now, if we're gonna take it into consideration, right, and this again, this is what a therapist does, dude. Right now, in this group environment, I don't know what to say, man. Your name pops up every single time I'm thinking of a question. And like because it pops up, it instantly is like, hey, yo, you're there. All right, I'm just gonna use you. Like, here you go, man. Here you go. Here's a heart. I'm just gonna try and romance you from now on. But no, at this point in time, what comes into play the moment that like say Zenith were like to trouble this group, right? Or like she were to like leave or stand up for herself, or like let's say break all ties with this group. What gets threatened? Legitimately. She just came from another group where she started making less than what is like acceptable. All of a sudden, she breaks up with this group. Her security and safety needs are automatically at risk. And if she's fucking like moving in with them and like spending time with them, the physiological needs are at risk. The whole triangle is at risk. I know, the idol en route. That's why I'm like, this is a good this is a good this is actually I kind of like not trying to loudly announce my departure, but into oh, Rainy Winters, I appreciate you. I hope you have a good night. Hey, hit me up later on whenever you wake up or whatever, and let me know how you're doing and what you're thinking about doing, especially with your school and work stuff and whatnot. Appreciate you being here, by the way. So the difference with that Dark Thug is for Bochi specifically, at any point in time, she could have left, right? Without feeling like her hierarchy of needs are being threatened or without being physically threatened. Is it uncomfortable? Absolutely. Could it be considered a boundary violation by like saying like or it's more like a peer pressured situation? Yeah. But is her Maslow's hierarchy of needs at the foundation being threatened? It's being threatened in the opposite way, where now, there's these people that are trying to connect with her, which is interesting. Studio to form just to realize it. Really? Wait, so like Moshko Tensei was like the animation was like formed because of the novel. So one day I blurted out these words: "You can sleep with me, but only if you never touch other women again." First time tuning into a live stream. Hey, I appreciate you. Yeah, I appreciate you tuning in. And oh god, Paul immediately agreed. That's a horrible color. Hold on, guys. That's a horrible ass color. Let me go ahead and highlight it. Paul immediately agreed with an easy smile. You can sleep with me, but only if you never touch any other women again. Green works? Okay, I can turn it on to green. If green works, I'll go with green. Yeah, if green works, we'll go with green. As expected of Paul, he was thinking with his other head, but still, oof, oof. I knew he was lying to me, of course, but on some level, I didn't mind. Once he broke his promise, I thought I might be able to get over him. Which for me, this sounds like a big deal for her to actually be able to sleep with someone. That's a huge fucking deal. Considering her religion and whatnot, and the fact that Paul, again, so mm. I kind of wonder how much of this, if we were to take Zenith, all right, then this is gonna be a big one, guys. If we were to take Zenith when she ran away, say whatever, right, and put her in an environment where her security wasn't threatened, and you have all these other guys around her, would she choose Paul? Yes or no? Without like the trauma, without any of the being kidnapped and then finding out that Paul's there and spending all that time in a group in an environment where she was herself beforehand, you know, do you think that she would have chosen Paul? Maybe, but a low chance. Nope. I think so because he embodied everything she didn't have. I'll be straight up with you. I don't think so. Two people committed to each other to be a beautiful thing. I think on some levels, Zenith didn't consider Paul to be the one she'd married, so it didn't matter if he kept his promise. The hold of a friend. Compromising is just soft word for another boundary going down. No, absolutely not, Dark Thug. Compromising is being able to mold and come up with an agreeable terms for both people, right? For your boundaries and my boundaries and what is acceptable, and that's the formation of a new boundary. A lot of people, like, because here's the thing is, the moment that you start thinking in absolutes where compromising is just like putting down a boundary, all of a sudden it starts turning into a game of manipulation. And it can turn very, very rough in scenarios like this. Which is why, yeah, it's a two-way street. Boundary breaking is just one way. Yeah. In absolutes, yeah. Yep. And that's why I'm saying, like, oftentimes the narrative that we use to, like, tell, like, our story and others can be a little interesting. Because I think I'm not really expecting grand from Paul. I know why I have a crush, so why not? True. Absolutely true. Eidolon, brute forcing versus compromise. Absolutely true. I think there's a chance. I think there's a low chance, but I think there's a chance that she would pick Paul, but probably really low. Probably go with someone that she's more used to that would probably, like, not completely break her schema that she has going on during this time. But once again, I'd been naive, careless, and foolish. I never even considered that I might get pregnant after a single... Ooh. My dude got the good seed. Holy shit. He hit it and he got, like, locked up, bro. That was I was so hopeless, anxious, and afraid. I didn't expect Paul would actually do the honorable thing and marry. Oh, well, at least he followed through, dude. Hell yeah. Let's go, Paul. Hey. So that's that. The child I bore him was a son. As it turned out, Rudeus, Greyrat. Oh, to chat log and stream. Oh yeah, dude. Well, at least she actually married it. Like, at least he actually was like, hey, you know what? Like, it happened. I'll marry you. Whatever. Clearly, he violates this boundary again. The whole, like, monogamy boundary that they've talked about. But, ooh, good on him. All right, guys. I guess we're right here. We're starting on the next one. I'm gonna highlight that purple just to know. Then the maid art came in. Is Zenith codependent to Paul? Let me answer that. That's a good one. I feel like Paul actually tried to keep his promise, which feels weird how easily he agreed. It feels weird. It really does feel weird how easily he immediately agreed to it with an easy smile. Considering there were always pretty women around them. You know? I don't know, dude. I knew he was lying to me. But on some level, I didn't mind. This is huge. Also, Will, horrible color. That's not the green I want. That's not the green I want. Hold on, there we go. Unreliable narrator, he was actually in love. But no, TLC, it don't matter who the narrative perspective is in some way, shape, or form, right? Because the way I'm taking it is Zenith comes into therapy, and Zenith is talking about this to you, the therapist, to you, the individual that she's venting to or whatever. How would you react if someone just told you all of this? Don't think about it as, is she an unreliable narrator or whatever? This is her story, her attachment, her relationships, her whatever, right? But if she comes in to your office or whatever, and she tells you this story, this first little thing, what thoughts come into mind? Paul really did love Zenith. I think the idea she was the first person he really loved, while others were just for pleasure. Maybe he loved Zenith as well at this point, so it was an easy decision for him. I mean, it could be that she wanted nothing to do with how controlling their parents and wanted to distance herself from everything was associated with their parents, which included her religion. Yeah, yeah. But here's, sorry, I meant in respect to the unreliable narrator. But my question is this, right? And again, I'm throwing this out there. How would you guys approach this with her? If she just told you all of this, what would you guys say? what I start questioning is the relationship that she has with this man, right? Number one, if you separated yourself from this man, are you okay financially? Do you have a place to sleep, eat, whatever? Like, is your bottom like line of Maslow's hierarchy of needs not threatened in any way, shape, or form? Or do you have to go again to being at the will of others and completely being shell-shocked and not really having any stability? And if that's the case, you know, how long did it take? And by the way, this is not me throwing anything on Paul. These are the questions that you'd ask in a scenario like this in order to get clarifying answers. Like, when did you first find out that you were genuinely attracted to him? And how does it feel to know that like other women were around Paul, right? How would you feel as an individual if you saw other people around the person that you liked or that you were starting to crush on and that they were sleeping with them? You know, or that he agreed so easily? Start asking a lot of these questions. You're like, wait a minute. If I was in her shoes, right? This is an empathetic nature. I'm putting myself in her shoes. And my partner was already well established in this group. I came from a situation where everything might have gone really badly, really quickly. Where right now I'm sleeping good, I'm eating good, I'm with, I have friends and whatnot. If I were to leave this group, does my life change? Does it change for the worse of that? Am I in fight or flight? And that's where it comes in. Because like, you know, being extremely dependent in some regards comes in that as well. And that's why I will always state, yes, I think I would be devastated and just desperate. Just be desperate. It definitely does for her. So then here comes the next thing. If this guy that saved you and you're constantly around and has a good reputation within the group and whatnot is always in your presence, right? You're more than likely going to start developing feelings as this is the safety network that is there for you. And that's why I'm like, fuck, dude, that's a hard thing for me to take in, and gives a lot more depth to the character herself, like to Zenith. This gives a shit ton of depth. Like, I'm processing this shit, and I'm like, the more I put myself in her shoes, the more that I'm like, not as which of the adventure team will yeah, because of propinquity eidolon. But here's the thing is, in a scenario like this where your hierarchy of needs are threatened, is that a healthy attachment or is that an unhealthy attachment where you don't have your base needs met? So like you can't leave this group without threatening your base needs met. So therefore, is this attachment that you're about to form a healthy romantic feelings, like due to you being in a healthy space? Or can it be like quite literally just drawn out of, again, trying to go ahead and like meet all of those requirements and solidify a stable foundation? Which is why, like, yeah. Anyway, sorry, let me read Masters. But interesting. This is making me think a lot, which is really, really good. I think the main thing for Zenith is whether she can live for herself or not, is which of the adventure teams will side with Zenith and which will side with Paul, because she would need to work if she separated with Paul, which means not much time for her kids. But even before that, Masters, before she even had kids, right? Let's say that she separated from the group altogether. So Eidolon, you really can't. If you want me to be realistic with you, which is why oftentimes, like, you see a lot of people in really abusive and toxic situations like that. And you can later on, once your base needs are met, right, where you don't need to rely on another person to have your needs met. And like once you both are complete individuals in some way, shape, or form, and have like, say even the bottom three, belongingness, love, and needs, right? These bottom two, actually, the basic needs. If you have your basic needs met and the other person have their basic needs met, you can be in a healthier relationship. If one person has their psychological needs met or their self-fulfillment needs met and you're down here, guess what? That's a power dynamic difference, right? And that puts a person in a position of power where they can literally start turning you into their own will as to what it means for you to get those safety needs, what it means for you to feel belongingness and love needs. Oh, you will only feel like you belong in this group and that you feel loved when you're with me, because this is my group, because this is how you will feel esteem, prestige, accomplishments, whatnot, thanks to the group. So therefore, you see how manipulative and how toxic it can get. So unless both of these individuals meet the basic needs by themselves without needing to rely on one another, it can turn into a really, really bad power dynamic situation. And it can turn into a situation where that love might not, like, granted, it might be like a healthy relationship, and not a healthy, but a relationship nonetheless, but it can turn into a toxic one, right? One where belongingness and love and needs are fragile, and they're able to go ahead and like, oh, absolutely, Dark Thug, absolutely. This can happen even unintentionally or even despite, absolutely. That's why I always say, like, when people are like, I can fix them, I'm like, no, you should not try and fix anyone, you know? Even if you have good intentions, you should only focus on yourself, and they should, like, you know, love in a way that is free and open, right? So if codependency is when your needs for survival are completely met on another individual, like you're quite literally putting yourself and your needs for everything on the other person, right? And in this case, my big thing is there's extremely unhealthy attachments, there's extremely unbalances in power, pretty much everything in that regard. Oh, I don't know, Coffee. I don't know. I'm just fucking going ham because this is actually really interesting. I don't know if we're actually gonna make a video out of it or not. I'm just like analyzing the, like, I'm just so into this. But like, my thing is, does this make Paul a bad person? No, absolutely not. Right? Does this make it an unhealthy relationship? Probably. But does it, like, because for Paul is just, hey, dude, he out here being Sigma Chad 9000, brother. And Paul's out here just fucking living his life, you know, trying to do his own thing. And, you know, sometimes you meet up with the person that, like, you think, oh, this will just be an easy whatever, right? It happens, dude. Like, everyone's in a different role, but the thing is being able to identify when a person is there for this and not. And I think that's what makes a big difference. Holy shit, dude. My ears are turning red. Like, I can fucking feel it. Sorry, guys. That might be a little heavy. And then are rebuilt when both individuals are... as a relationship therapist, as a therapist in general, here's the thing is, sometimes people in unhealthy relationships don't want to break up with one another because that is what is known to them. That is what safety means to them. That is what their safe regards or coping skills, their everything is to them. So, like, if Masters and I are in a relationship and we fight all the time and we hate one another all the time, but we have the most amazing sex life out there because, you know, we get it on every night, even though we hate each other and all of this stuff, right? And, like, outside you can be like, wow, that's so toxic. But guess what? We're using each other in a way in order to just have the baseline met, right? Ending that relationship might quite literally, like, bring both of them down, right? So before even, like, ending that relationship, both individuals need to come to terms with what growth is and finding other ways. So, for example, a good support network, right? Because, for example, Master should have his own friends, and I should have my own friends as well. If my friends are all of Master's friends, and I met my friends thanks to Master's, guess what? That's unhealthy, bro. That's to the point where, oh, bro, that's where a lot of domestic violence situations pop up from, where people start controlling who you're friends with, who you're not friends with, what you can and can't do, and so on and so forth, you know? That's what I'm saying. Like, I think a lot of unhealthy relationships need a lot of work, and I think there needs to be a lot of things addressed in a situation like that. I was on shaky ground since there was no commitment whatsoever from... No, okay. Solid commitment? Not necessarily, right? Because, again, let's go into what love is, right? Consummate love is sort of like the perfect love that you should, like, you know, if you're looking for a good, healthy relationship, intimacy, passion, commitment is what you're looking for, right? There's different styles of love out there. So... even if you don't have commitment in the picture, you can still have romantic love, which is just passion and intimacy, but there's still a lot of respect that needs to go ahead and apply to one another in that regard in order for it to, like, be healthy in terms of, like, I want you to grow to a point where you don't need me. I want you to grow to a point where, like, You don't need me to live your life. Where I add the extra value to your life, right? Where if we're in a relationship together, you're putting in 100%, I'm putting in 100%. It's not 50-50. Whatever's left over is the extra spice that we add in together. You have your life to live, and I have my life to live. And you have your friends, and I have my friends. You have the things that excite you that you want to go ahead and do. I have the things that excite me that I genuinely want to go ahead and study and do, and so on and so forth. You know? But it turns really weird when it's like, hey, Rudo, you're your friends? Nah, man, they're my friends. Like, you know, all the friends that you know are only through me, you know? Oh, that's right, you only travel with me. Oh, without me and my group, where would you go? What house would you live in? Turn down a friendship when a friend of mine introduced me to someone who has a crush on my girlfriend for years. Who has a girlfriend. Oof. Introduced me to someone who has a crush on my friend for years who has it. Dude. Yikes. Yikes. So how'd you feel about that, dude? Because that's rough, dude. That's not an easy thing to do. Yeah, dude, that's not an easy thing to do. Holy crap, dude. But also, can I just say, this shit's really well written. Dude, we're like 4 pages in. We're like, you know, at least 4 out of 21, dude. And this shit's really, really, really well written. Like, to the point where this is like, I don't know, dude. It's gotten a lot of arguments, a lot of good discussion elements out of it. You know, it's gotten us to go ahead and talk about different. Yeah. Also, these 3 feelings right here. This is one thing that pops out for me. I was so hopeless, anxious, and afraid. So she clearly didn't expect much from him. Oof. Oof. I certainly didn't expect that he would actually marry me and do the right thing. Oof. Mushko Tensei, the goat. The goat. But good shit, guys. Good shit. Alright. Should we continue or should we move on? And then come back to this before the next one. Because... or I have to choose between them. I'm going to choose my friend. That would be awful for them. Oh. The author must write 24 within 3 years. Okay, at the moment, Rudy was crouched next to his little sister's crib with a very serious expression on his face, so much like his father's. Frowning intently, he peered into the crib for a moment, then looked over into the other. I'm not gonna say it. Ah! Ah! Norm began to fuss, and Rudy's expression stiffened even further. But an instant later... oh god, he stuck his tongue out and made a silly face. Ah! Aw, nodding in satisfaction, Norm gulped happily. Rudeus resumed his previous serious expression. This time it was Aisha who piped up out of nowhere. Rudeus immediately turned to face her, pressed his palms against his cheek, and mumbled. I know, peak voice acting, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. Can we get the guy as a soundboard? Clearly amused, Aisha let a happy little aw. Once again, Rudy nodded himself with a grin of pure pleasure. He'd been keeping up with this little routine for a while. At the sight of Rudy's smile, couldn't help but let out a little laugh. It was something you saw every day, after all. Rudy always had the most serious expression on, no matter how well things went with his sword practice or his magic. He never looked particularly satisfied. He almost never let Paul see him smile. When he did, it was usually a forced, awkward smile. Guys, this is what... hold on. I know, where's the baby stock effects? Guys, this is quite literally what happens when someone has a lot, like, especially kids, have a lot of attachment trauma. I'm 100% straight up with you. When they're around their parents, this is it. They can't smile. You know, if there's some like attachment trauma or whatnot, it's scary. That's letting out an emotion. You know, and what if they see them as weak, or what if that leads to some type of issue or something happening? You know, and it's like when they're in group, you know, with other kids their age or kids younger or whatnot. What you often see is them trying to take off that like I was trying to scroll the page in your stream. Or so on and so forth. Like you will see them like actually laugh and show some pure emotions. Trauma from abandoning his parents. It's also just trauma from his previous life, if we're being realistic about it, right? Which is like, you know, for example, if he shows Paul that he's smiling or whatnot, would they think he's weird? Would they isolate him? Would they whatever? Yeah, from his past life, yeah. And that's why it's usually like, I don't know, dude. And he ran away. Yeah. But at that time, the trauma that he had was severe, was big. He almost never let Paul see him smile. Oh, and when he did, it was usually a forced, awkward grin. But now he was making silly faces to amuse his little sisters and smiling with genuine pleasure when it worked. Just watching him put me in a good mood myself. We'd come a long way from the way things used to be. I sighed quietly, recalling Rudy's early years. At first, I'd been overjoyed when he discovered his talent for magic. But after a while, I started to feel he was so relentless that he'd secretly look down on the rest of us. Oh, he was so talented. I wondered if he even loved his family at all. He never really got attached. Ooh! Ooh! Oh, no. Oh, no. Speaking of attachment fucking trauma, dude, imagine this. For a couple years, your mom doesn't think that you love your family. She feels distant from you. She doesn't feel like you attach yourself to her. You know what that's gonna fucking cause? Some sort of disdain until the realization comes down. That could... Oh, my heart. My corazón. Ooh, sorry guys. I'm like, I'm putting myself in Rudeus's like feet for a second, right? Does not deserve anything that happened to her. No, I'm trying to put myself in Rudeus's like shoes for a second, and I'm like, imagine being a kid, right? Not even an adult, but just a kid in a scenario like that where you don't know why, like you're talented and you think that by being talented, your parents are going to be proud of you, and you're going to be able to grow and do everything. But your parents are starting to act kind of cold to you the more that you study and the more that you do certain things. Maybe be learning and being magic and whatnot is how you showed love in your way, but he probably was, you know, talented isolation. Yeah. And that happens quite a bit when people who are really talented, um, or, you know, for example, people that are really, really smart, tend to go through big bouts of depression. People who like, you know, or even seasonal depression, if that, right? um because sometimes you feel as though others aren't, you're not able to go and connect with others in some way, shape, or form that's mentally appealing. But in a situation like this, when you're so talented that your family starts downing you like this, I wonder if this is a key moment, a key moment in time, even if you don't realize it like verbally, maybe even physically, where you start to form some attachment traumas to where later on he might try and attach to everyone and everything, right? Where he might say, oh yeah, cough me, fuck it, we're in a relationship now. Oh, Masters, you're coming back, we're in a relationship as well, and you gotta get, you know, well, welcome to this world. This is oh, Blade Dragon's here. Blade Dragon's in a relationship with all of us now. It's all three of us. We're on a, and I don't want to lose any of y'all. Nah, y'all got to get along with one another. You guys are friends, right? And with all the attachment issues that he went on later on down the road, you know, as Rudy, I can see shit like that happening. You know, I can, oof. But I had it all wrong, of course. I realized in the midst of her greatest family crisis, the day Lily announced her pregnancy, and Paul confessed that he was responsible. I felt so terribly betrayed by both of them. So angry and so sad. You had every fucking right to feel that way. Every right to feel that way. In particular, I was so furious at Paul for breaking his vows to me that I felt about ready to explode. I was on the verge of screaming either screaming "Get out!" or Lilia to Lilia or announcing that I was leaving myself. It took an effort to keep myself. Bro, she was fucking mature about it. Because any other person in that scenario, that's literally like bringing chaos into your house almost immediately, right? Like, dude, that's... Oof, oof. That happened to me in middle school. I was pretty smart at a small school, and I felt like no one understood me. I felt like I was alone in the world. Fortunately, one day I came to the realization that I was putting distance between myself and others because I thought I was better not being conscious about how other people feel than the other way around. True. And sometimes it takes that self-reflection, Eidolon, to really start making those steps forwards. And I'm proud of you for being able to go out and do that, because it's not easy, man. It's not an easy process to be able to like genuinely think about it. How she handled this is really mature, and actually being able to go out and breathe through it, that's big. Before our marriage, I'd expect Paul to prove himself a liar and plan to dump him once he did. I'd almost forgotten about that, but apparently my feelings hadn't changed. I was so upset that I was ready to break apart our family for good. But in the end, Rudy changed my mind. Playing the part of a guiltless child, he stepped in to guide things to a neat conclusion. His methods weren't exactly admirable, of course, and even if I believe his story, it certainly wouldn't have convinced me to forgive my wayward husband. Still, from Rudy's words and expressions on his face, I could see that he was feeling deep, what he was really feeling deep down inside. He was afraid, terrified his family was going to break apart. Attachment trauma, dude. That just straight up, like, number one, this is why when arguments happen, I'm going to be straight up with you guys. As parents, hey, if you're watching this and you're a parent, don't put your kids into your marital discussions. Straight up. If you guys are having an argument, a discussion, or whatever, right? Have that conversation in your bed. A conversation. Notice how I didn't say an argument. A conversation in your bed. You guys are mature ass adults that decided to go ahead and have a kid. So take responsibility and actually have communication between one another. Listen with the intent to understand versus listening to the intent to reply. Dark Thug, this is what I'm talking about. This is what happened at the dinner table, though. When he actually stepped in, though. Because Rudy had the time to go and think about things. And if you're actually listening to understand one another, and you're having a conversation and not an argument, it'll go a lot smoother, right? Granted, it can shit get out of hand, and should she yell? Absolutely, she should feel whatever she wants to feel in any scenario like this. That's okay. I'll ask this, guys. Have you ever been cheated on? Because if you have, you know that fucking hurts. Now imagine being cheated in a foundation where you already thought that everything was going smoothly, that you thought that, like, you know, you could trust this person. Could you trust that person again? That's the big thing. Like, the world is falling apart. Yeah, Rudo, absolutely. Like, when I've gone through it, dude, it's been one of the worst fucking feelings out there, dude. Like, legit, dude. It's one of those feelings where deep down inside you start questioning. Never had someone to cheat on me in the first place. Oh, Cloud Monkey. Like, it's one of the worst feelings, like, out there, dude. Because, like, it starts threatening your values, your ideals, what you thought was right or wrong. Are you even worth it? Was a lot of feelings and sensations start to come through. Betrayal, trust, everything down the drain, dude. What you thought was a solid foundation wasn't a solid foundation. Enough to the point where, like, you know, shit started happening. Can't cheat on me if all my waifus are imaginary. Yeah, but don't your waifus, a lot of waifus have like a main character that they're into. So don't you consider that cheating as well then, Masters? The moment I realized that, I finally understood that he did love us in his own way, and I wanted nothing more than to reassure him. My anger softened. And I managed to bring myself to forgive both Paul and Lilia on the spot. If not for Rudy, things wouldn't have worked out that way. You're gonna be real pretty just like mommy, yeah. And now here he was, playing with Norn's little hands and smiling happily. My ever-serious little son was soothing his little sister with little baby talk. He's so reliable. If you self-project onto the MC, it is not cheating. Don't do that. No, no, don't do that, Cloud Monkey. No. I'd been in a bit of an awe of Rudy's talents for quite some, but lately I was to appreciate his dependability as well. Things had been truly hectic after Aisha and Norn were born. Our 2 new daughters cried at all hours of the night, puked up half the milk we fed them, and routinely pooped when we were bathing them. Lydia told me that all of this was perfectly natural and it was only to be expected, but in no time I was utterly exhausted. For days and days, I barely got a wink of sleep. Hey, Lilia. Welcome to being a parent. You see, sometimes a maid, your maid can only do so much, dude. I like that Lilia was like, yeah, this is totally fucking normal. Rudy was a weirdo. You know, Rudy's story is an exception, dude. Like, but even then, they thought he peed himself when the water fucking spilled on him on that first episode. Zenith actually getting baby experience. But then Rudy stepped in and started to handle all things for us without even being asked. He was oddly skillful with babies. It almost seemed as if he cared for one before, although that couldn't be possibly the case. I suppose he must have picked up a few things from watching Lilia. That's our Rudy for you. I wasn't particularly happy that my son was better at soothing my own child than I was, but it was still an enormous help. I'd never seen a boy his age so helpful or reliable and even capable of looking after newborns the way he did. Watching him work reminded me of my brother, who presumably still lived back in the Holy Country. Like Rudy, he was serious, diligent, and talented. My father always told us to learn from his example, but he was always cold to his family and ignored his little sisters almost completely. As nobles went, he was a good and honest man, but I didn't think much of him as a brother. Rudy was obviously going to be different. He was going to be a good big brother, the kind who earned his sister's admiration. Careful what you wish for here. Careful what you wish for. I know. I know. Rudeus didn't do this stuff. Yeah, dude, like I'm reading this, I'm like, can you imagine just like your kid is better at taking care of your son than you are? Oh. My thing is, this line right here is very ominous. The kid who earns his sister admiration. Are we gonna get something like that in the future? Are we gonna get like one of the sisters really being into him or some shit? I hope not, dude. I hope we don't get some Sweet Home Alabama Mushko Tensei-ness, dude. Like, I can kind of see them like, you know, maybe pushing something like that, other than like him just being a big brother in general, or who knows, man. I mean, I thought you wanted to. And also, are we gonna get a big? Are we gonna go like? Are we gonna visit her parents at some point in time? Because no way would the author just bring this up for no reason, right? The fact that like, oh yeah, you know, just like that. Like, are we gonna? Because if we do, I have a feeling like, oh, we're about to get some fucking drama. We're about to get some fucking tea if this does happen at any point in time. Whatever happens, you know, will be well written. I can sure assure you of that. Guys, whenever you guys say who knows, my fucking anxiety goes up. Alright, the certainty seemed to be his actions. At least he'd actually announced, I'm going to try to be the coolest, most perfect big brother ever, to Paul while they looked down at Norn and Aisha. And I was already eager to see what the three of them would be like in a few years' time. Honestly don't know, but I'm guessing at some point the family would come up. Yeah, dude. Yeah. At this point, I was just startled out of my by Norn, who'd begun to cry loudly. Rudy's body jerked in surprise, but quickly turned to her crib and make more silly faces. This time, Norn didn't stop bawling. Rudy touched her diaper to see if it was wet, then picked her up and checked her back for rashes, but waterworks just kept flowing. If I'd been on my own, I probably would have just gotten flustered and called for Lilia, only to fall into an outright panic once I remembered she was out shopping at the moment. But Rudy stayed admirably calm, working by process of elimination. He checked too carefully. He was fucking scientist at this point. He checked carefully for potential problems. Like, he's like, oh, is this the code? After a while, he clapped his hands and turned to me. Dude. Oh, yeah, dude. This is awesome. This is some good shit. Mother, I think it's time for their milk. Come to think of it, it was about that time of day, wasn't it? The hours really did fly by when I watched Rudy playing with his sister. Here, have a seat. I lowered myself into the chair. Rudy pulled up for me, opened the blouse, took my bawling baby into my arms. Aww. Big bro Rudy, dude. Actually stepping up. She had clearly been quite hungry, just as Rudy thought. She immediately pressed her little mouth to my nipple and began to suck greedily. Greedily, man. I wonder if she's actually a saint of greed. She's the Archbishop of Greed. Turns out that this is just like, you know, the ReZero world before anything happened. The sensation always made me intensely conscious of my own motherhood. The nipple demon. After a moment, I realized Rudy was watching. Whenever I breastfed Norm, he tended to stare. It wasn't just a curious, innocent gaze either. There was an element of interest you wouldn't expect from a 7-year-old. Yeah, dude. He was like, let me see those nipples. Oh, no. Rudy being like, it's free real estate. Rudy had to get something out for, hey, yo. Oh, that's funny. That's kind of funny, bro. Rudy, somehow it doesn't break Paul Jeans, bro. Somehow it doesn't surprise me. Like, that's in character. It was cute to see him doing things so much like what Paul did, but if Rudy was already like this at this age, there was probably going to be some trouble down the line. The last thing I wanted was for him to go around breaking women's hearts right and left the way his father did. Oh, no worry. Girls are going to do that to him. Oh, dude. You didn't raise a Giga Chad that broke girls' hearts right and left. You raised a tier 3 simp who got his heart broken. Oh, Rudy. My Rudy. I feel that, dude. Oh, dude. Rudy, yeah. Yeah, I feel that, dude. Rudy is such a good character, dude. He's such a the way that you guys are like tempting me now. I really want to read the novel, but I feel like it's gonna take me hours, brother, hours. No, not even fucking hours. Like weeks. That's a horrible color. There we go. Worth it. What's the matter, Rudy? Do you want some too? Huh? Oh, bro, you don't ask Rudy this. Bro, you don't ask Rudy this. As long as you don't read it on Do you want some? Rudy? Anytime like something like this happens, you just gotta like clap your hands together, just rub your hands. It already took me weeks. Got milk, bro. Startled by my little joke, Rudy jerked his head and blushed a brilliant shade of red. Itadakimasu. I love how Rudy's personality traits were reflective of his parents. Like he was actually meant to be their child, not just born to some random. True, actually. Like he is a good reflection of Paul. You know, a good like he has like some Paul moments in him. Totally normal. No, that's not it. I was just impressed by how much she's drinking milk. I was a bit cute seeing him flustered. I couldn't help laughing a little. Sorry, but I need my milk for Norn now. You had plenty when you were a baby, so don't get greedy now, all right? Hey, you offered. You offered. Of course, mother. Rudy agreed easily enough, but I saw a slight hint of regret on his face. Definitely an unusual reaction coming from him. An extremely adorable. Maybe IT's okay. Wait, hold on, mom. Hold on. That ain't no normal shit, bruh. That ain't no normal. Hey, yo, hey, yo. That ain't no normal shit right there, dude. You don't tease your child and trying to go in and give him a nipple, bro. Like, oof. Alabama in more ways than one, brother. All right. She responds, huh? Well, if you're desperate, once you get yourself a wife, why don't you ask her if she'll give you some? Oh, good idea. I'll have to try that out someday. I was expecting him to get all surly and defensive, but he parried my remark with a calm expression. I suppose he'd figured out I was just messing with them. No fun, but that's Rudy for you, I suppose. Don't go forcing her, mind you. Yeah, I know. This is cool. And this is, even as a joke with this, like, with her telling Rudeus this, like, this is a good way of bringing up, like, a boundary talk, even without necessarily bringing up, like, a whole conversation about boundaries. Yeah, hey, consent, like, play of the game here, dude, pog. Yeah, dude, that's why I'm like, this is actually really, really nice. Like, this is the type of, oh, like, even as a side joke that I would have loved to have seen, like, in their nervous laugh. Don't say that. Don't say that. It always made me feel a little bit melancholy to see him acting up all grown up like this. Turned my attention back to Norm, who had her fill. After patting her back until she let out a little burp, I gently placed her back in the crib. As I wiped off my breast with the cloth, I realized that Rudy was staring at me again. Bruh. Brilliant, apparently. Teaching the real things early on. Yeah. Whoever does marry him might have a tough time. Sylphie seems like a leading candidate at this moment, and that girl tends to do anything Rudy tells her to. She might not be able to say no even when she wants to. So they're aware of it. They're aware of the power dynamic that is here, right? And if worse comes to worse, I'll just set him straight. Dude, okay, so they're aware of the power dynamic here. They're clearly like, hey, you know what? I might have to go and talk to him or whatnot. And the introduction of the joke in that regard is actually cool. But my thing is, they're just kids. It's up to the parents to... And the thing is, separation is the worst answer. In an environment like this, what you start doing is you start corrective actioning inside of it, right? Like, for example, say that Sagusu and Skukong were playing together and there's a weird dynamic starting to go ahead and, like, form. The worst thing that I can do is, like, completely separate them, because what has Skukong learned? What has Sagusu learned? Genuinely from any conversations like this. Me who knows the end, waiting for to read, please. What would end up happening is quite literally, like, they wouldn't really take anything away, and unless you started a self-reflective process, right? So what ends up happening is you start having a conversation like, hey, you don't do that, you respect boundaries, hey, you guys are gonna have supervised play, you guys can still play or do whatever, but you guys are gonna have like a guardian for a bit in order to like make sure that those boundary limits are being there. Yeah, because basically all that happens, again, Bonfire, is they were separated, he was sent off, and he didn't learn anything, and he creates that power dynamic again. You learn that making it... Well, not necessarily, right? Because, like, you would make a connection again, but you wouldn't know that the way that you're, like, making those connections is bad. So, yeah, there was good intentions, but execution was a bit rough. I was Rudy's mother, after all. Paul might have to teach him how to seduce women, but I'd teach him how to treat them right. Aww. Norm looked quite satisfied now that she had something in her stomach. It didn't take for her to start nodding off in her crib. That's the way, I murmured softly, stroking her head. Drink lots of milk, get lots of sleep, and grow up nice and healthy. Unfortunately, Aisha picked this moment to start fussing a little herself. Yeah. But even through then, you'd still expect a little bit of connection with their spouse or something. Tearing away his eyes from his breast. Tearing his eyes away from my breast, Rudy peered down to the other crib. I was like, from his breast? He was just like, hey, yo, is this booby? Just as he'd done for Norn a bit before, he picked up Aisha, checked her diaper, looked for rashes and insects and bites. But after a moment, still holding the baby in her arm, he turned to me with an uncharacteristically anxious expression. I did like seeing different emotions on Rudy's face, but I didn't want him to look troubled very often. What's the matter, Rudy? Mother Lily's a little late today, isn't she? Come to think of it, you're right. Normally, she would have returned her shopping by now. Could something have happened? No. She'd mentioned she was planning to buy a bit more than usual. It was probably just taking a bit longer than expected. Well, you see, about Aisha, I think she's hungry too. Hey, yo. We tend to feed our babies around the same time, so it makes sense that they're both hungry at the same time. Normally, I breastfeed Norn while Lilia took care of Aisha, but at this point, I finally understood the awkward expression on Rudy's face. Slowly, cautiously, clearly, choosing every word with care. Mother... There's no telling when Miss Lilia will get back. I'm sure Aisha could wait a little, but if she keeps crying, Norn might wake up too, so, Hey, yo, she needs that milk. As a faithful member, oh, yeah. As a faithful, let's go ahead and, Bro, inside I was like, Rudy, I see where you're coming from. It's cringy, like, inside I'm like, oh, but I see it, dude, yeah. I was still unhappy with both Paul and Lily for breaking our marriage vows. I knew they didn't subscribe to my fate. Guys, hi YouTube. If you guys are watching this, make sure to subscribe to the Millis Church. hit that like button and that bell button. Oof. But it was never pleasant to have someone disregard your values. And Rudy had obviously picked up on all of this. He was afraid of his suggestions might upset me. He was worried I might even take out my displeasure on his little sister. The boy was clearly anxious. Oh, dude, this is so good. This is so fucking good. Are you guys about to make me a fucking novel reader? Nah, take this Mindless Bible, or the MILF Church. From his perspective, Norin, Aisha, and I were all equally family, and given there were things now stood, I ought to feel the same. Still, was this really a good idea? Was it breastfeeding Aisha make me feel anger or revulsion? What if Rudy saw hatred on my face and despised me for it? Oh, really now? What are you going to do about it? Or what are you going on about, Rudy? Come on, give me Aisha, I answered in the kindest voice I could. Trying to shake off my uncertainty. Of course, Rudy said. Slowly, hesitantly, he deposited Aisha into my arms. He deposited, I love that word. This novel's really good, dude. And oh yeah, dude. I'm sure somebody already is throwing it up in the Mushko Tensei like subreddits. You see, he loves a light novel reader, even though I'm over here like, dude, I'm so fucking into this, dude. Light novel Ed, the new Ed. I might fucking start doing this from time to time. I might start off like just fucking like novel 1 or chapter 1. Working my way through it like on a stream, like or something, like a ReZero or this one or whatever. After exposing the opposite breast from the one that Norin had been using, I lifted her up to it. I probably would have felt a bit upset if Aisha had kicked up a fuss at this point, but she latched right onto me and started gulping down the milk immediately. Too quietly for Rudy to hear, I breathed a sigh of relief. I felt the same exact way when I was feeding Norin. My heart was full of warm, pleasant awareness of my motherhood and nothing else. How odd. Why had I hesitated, even so slightly, to bring Aisha to my breast? Why had I thought that this would make me unhappy? Why did I think of this as some trial I had to endure? It was all so much simpler than I thought. I was a mother. Nothing really mattered. Whether you're a member of the Miller's Church or not, it doesn't really make a difference when it comes to things like this. Oh, God, that word choice. She's certainly guzzling it down, isn't she? Rudy. Oh, okay, that was the mom. Okay, I thought that was Rudy. Maybe you can read the novels and cover chapters you liked on stream, throw your notes, or you can go through it at a reasonable pace, but still share the points you want. Yeah, that's mom, dude. What a word choice. Well, your milk is delicious, mother. Oh, that's an odd attempt at flattery, Rudy. Oh, seeing Aisha happily sucking at my breast and the contented expression on my own face, Rudy smiled with obvious relief. He clearly regarded protecting his little sisters to be his duty. Very admirable. His desires to become a good big brother, worthy of their adoration, seemed to be quite genuine. It's not flattery. I still remember how it tasted. Do you really now? Chuckling softly, I reached down to stroke Aisha's little head. After a while, she finished up and took her mouth out of my breast. Only moments later, she was nodding off in my arms. Hey, so yo! I lowered him back into her crib. Rudy watched from a distance with his gaze warmer than usual. Hey, Rudy, yeah, what is it? Mind if I stroke your head a bit? You don't need to ask my permission. Feel free to pet me anytime. After slowly sitting at my side, Rudy leaned his head toward me invitingly. I reached down and began to stroke it gently. Rudy was our first child, and he never needed much from us. But most of the time, I didn't feel like I was much of a parent to him. But recently, that had begun to change. I was truly this boy's mother, and he was truly my son. Sensing a bit of warmth, I turned I turned in its direction. Spring sunshine was streaming through the window. Outside, golden fields of wheat stretched out as far as the eye could see. It was the picture of a peaceful spring morning. As I gazed quietly out at it, I sensed of happiness washed over me. Bro, why does this feel like a fucked up... Hold on. Why does it feel like a really fucked up dream sequence? Like, just like a perfect little moment? Where, like, she's, like, in a hypnotic state. Just fucking, like, being kept... Like, you remember that episode of Rick and Morty? Where they only make you, like, the happiest fucking things? This feels like that exact little thing where we're not getting, like any, like, really bad points. As it is more, like, in the positive regard. And I'm like, this is a little weird now that we're getting here. Like, my mind is like, yeah, dude, like, it's like, I'm like, is this a dream state that she might just be locked in or something? Because like I haven't really heard anything like negative. Yeah, I think I can understand the. Thank you, Dark Doug. I appreciate it. Yeah, because I'm like, it's awesome. But like I haven't. It's like I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. It's weird. I can't even explain why I'm getting this vibe. It's usually like the stories that I hear from my clients whenever they tell me a story about a dream. You know, and I know this is what it was like probably in that thing, but it's like, come on, Ed, join the dark side. We got the web novel, we got the novel chapters. For some reason, I felt utterly content. I wish this moment, this is what one of the big things that's giving me like a flag. You become incredibly content. You feel like you're in a dream, but appreciate it. Yeah, me too. Rudy murmured. I suppose he also found this little domestic scene pleasantly tranquil, but it was only thanks to him that I could feel the same. If he hadn't intervened, the pious member of the militia church reduced to one wife of two, I probably would have stormed out of this house with Norn, cursing my misfortune, or stayed behind, perhaps to think out my resentment. Thank goodness for Rudy. If he hadn't been such a wise and clever little boy, I never would have experienced this blissful moment. Rudy? Yes, mother? Thank you for being born. Startled, Rudy looked up at me. After an awkward pause, he scratched his head and answered in an adorably bashful tone of voice, well, thank you for having me. My only reply was another chuckle of amusement. Oh, dude. Oh, this. This hurts. Oh, this is beautiful, dude. This was sweet. I'm gonna ask this, guys. How many of you guys have been told that? How many of you guys, when was the last time you guys hugged your parents? Or said I love you to your parents? When was the last time that you genuinely connected with your parents in a deep, meaningful regard like this? That wasn't just a, hey, how you doing? All right, guys, bye. Or hey, can you bring this home? If you haven't done it in a long while, dude, hey, I'm sorry about that, but you know, you can always, you know, reach out or try and make the attempt to go ahead and like connect in a deeper level like that. And if you have, hey, how was that like for you? Dude, moments like this are huge. I can't even remember, but I gave a hug to my mom last month, I think. I hate my father, but my mom and I regularly act like that. If there's one person you connect to, yeah. Because I hate to be like this, but in the blink of an eye, your life will literally you'll get older and older and your life will start flashing by. Right. And we often forget that our parents and those around us, love, hate them, also get older. And in another blink they might no longer be next to us. You know. And if you have a good relationship with them or a neutral relationship with them, even just, you know, reaching out and even from them reaching out to you from time to time, letting others know that you're appreciated, that you're cared about, that they care about you, so on and so forth. Extremely important. Like I can't stress that enough, guys. For you guys that are here, for you guys that are here, and if you guys haven't heard it, hey, I love you guys. Genuinely. Thank you for being here. A lot of people don't get told that they're loved or whatnot, so just take it from me, like random stranger on the internet. I love you guys. I am really proud that you guys are here, able to talk about all of this and able to enjoy, you know, Moshko Tensei and some of the same shows that we all watch and analyze and talk about. This is like, yeah, that's treasure them while they're still around. No, thank you guys. Thank you guys for being here, and thank you guys for being like open to like all the deep talks that we have. You know. And absolutely spiffy, absolutely. That's why this moment here with Rudy, this is powerful shit, guys. Like this is absolutely really powerful writing. This is an amazing way to go ahead and introduce like the care, like the fact that there is a sense of deep connection, and even if there wasn't that parent, like, you know, the extreme parent, like, you know, always like looking after you, can tell that there's a sense of care. And there's a sense of like Zenith genuinely wanting Rudy to be better and grow and blossom as an individual. That's beautiful, dude. That is absolutely beautiful, powerful writing. That's exactly what I'm thinking about. This is beautiful, powerful writing, guys. Whoa. I remember this as a flashback, right? This is peak content. Did Zenith really agree for Rudy to be sent to... That's... I'm wondering if this was, like, especially Paul going through with it. I think this was more of Paul's execution. Because I feel as though Zenith might have provided more options. You know? But this is why I'm like, wow. Like, I think I genuinely feel like I understand Zenith's care for Rudy a little bit more. No, but Zenith was like, yeah, she was looking at them fight. But again, execution, man. The fact that 200 people would watch this proves that novels can be good content if done properly. Yeah, absolutely, they can be done. But this was awesome, dude. Holy crap. I didn't expect to go through the entire thing. I'm probably going to be making a shit ton more notes as I go through this. Sorry, I didn't go to that extreme that we did at the very beginning here. Just because I was like, oh, we have to get to Isekai Oji-san. But I just kept reading it, dude. And I got to a point where, like, I just stopped caring. Because I was like, you guys can follow my train of thought. You guys know where I'm going with this. But wow. Used his father privilege on that one since he's more than likely something Paul would have done. Sophie nearly killed Paul with magic when he saw Rudy being taken away. Wait, really? Whoa. Hey, yo. Welcome to our club, dude. I know. I'm fucking feeling it, dude. She was a good mother character before this made her very real and fleshed out. Absolutely. But also, I hope that, like, for example, me bringing up the triangle, like, Maslow's triangle of needs, bringing up Sternberg's triangle of love, you know, talking about Bronfenbrenner's theory here. Like, I hope that helps with, like, the concepts or conceptualizing the way that, like, you know, like, I would look at them, or any good therapist would start looking at them. Even, like, for example, like the love languages and stuff like that, you know. For me, she's an awesome mom, dude. Like, legit. Like, she felt like a really fleshed out character, and that was beautiful. That was absolutely beautiful. Next Gen Gamer asks, is this chapter in the light novel, or do you have to read it separately? I think Zenith begrudgingly let Rudeus grow. She loved him, so she recognized that he was being limited and wanted him to grow as hard as it would be. I haven't been following along with reading because of spoilers, but out of curiosity, what chapter was this? Hey, Starman, that was a good chapter, was it not? Guys, if you guys are on YouTube and you guys are watching this, hey, I appreciate y'all sticking around and literally, like, reading this through with me. And, you know, granted, not everything's gonna be 110% correct. Of course, characters grow and evolve and change and all of these things. And none of this is hate towards Paul at all. Paul is a wonderful character, you know. Like, quite literally, Paul is an absolutely fantastic character. And I don't want to go ahead and separate this, because any good character will have their flaws. That is what makes a good character. For those of you from ReZero that may somehow stumble onto this and you guys are like, but what about Subaru? Subaru has a shit ton of flaws, and that's what makes him a good character. But Paul really, like, as a character, is going through stages of growth and evolution, is stepping up in many shapes and courses. Of course, we all fuck up. We're all human in some way, shape, or form, or bound to make mistakes. But the fact that, like, well, number one, for Zenith, this is a beautiful chapter for her, and allows her to, like, for at least for me, it grows, right? Reading fanfic, people are gonna get and then to Paul, also growing as a character, and also seeing and understanding a little bit more as to how Zenith sees Paul, as to what made this decision come through, as to her relationship with Rudy, and all of this. Wow. Dude, I was getting all emotional with this last little bit here. I'll be honest, I was getting all emotional. With that though, hey, how'd this chapter make you guys feel when you guys first read it? Like, genuinely. Did you guys like it? Did you guys hate it? Did you guys feel as though you learned something? Did you feel like the characters are more fleshed out after reading this? It was really touching, to be honest. It is. Did you feel like you remember? I genuinely shed some little tear came down. This is awesome, dude. This is what it's about. I'm so fucking hyped, dude. This is hyping me up for fucking the next season. Ah, yeah, we didn't see enough of Zenith in the anime. YouTube, hey, if you guys are reading this and watching this or whatever, know that like, number one, hey, I'm not a light novel reader, as you guys can tell. I'm like, chat voted on this. They got this by one of our charity streams, and honestly, I'm fucking loving this. This was awesome, dude. Like, now I am for reading this chapter thanks to chat, but still, like now I'm genuinely like liking it, at least just like, you know, the chapter that we read today. That was honestly one of the best things out there. And if you guys would be interested in me doing this in the future, you guys coming through and, you know, me even like throwing up on Discord and you guys reading it out loud and me stopping and asking questions and so on and so forth and like dissecting stuff, let me know. I'd be more than down to like do something like this, like even on one of my off days, like literally just throw it up and being like, hey, we're gonna do like chapter 1, who wants to read or help read, or even like a little like chapter or something, or like half a chapter, whatever, and like stopping and analyzing and talking about it and like allowing me to take notes and all of that. Like this is it. Like I'd love to do something like that. I think this is absolutely wonderful. YouTube, if you guys would like to see something like that, let me know down in the comments below. I'd really like, you know, I'm curious about your guys' interest, and come and join us. We tend to do this every Friday and Sunday, you know. Ooh, I'd be here for that, dude. Yeah, this is, and it doesn't even have to be Mushko Tensei. It can be ReZero. It can be fucking Bochita la Piedrita. It can be anything, dude. Like, as long as it's good stuff, like, hey, we might be jumping into that, because that was some powerful shit, dude. That was some really good shit.